You didn't have it.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, good evening, everybody,
Shabbat Shalom.
and welcome to Temple Beth for our weekly Shabbat services. Good to see you all. Also, welcome to those folks who are tuned in from home. Bruchim Abim, good evening as well. And this Shabbat, we keep having these special Shabbatot. This Shabbat is actually Shabbat Hagadol, which means the great Shabbat. It is the Shabbat right before Passover. Hi. So this Shabbat is actually Shabbat Hagadol, which means the great Shabbat, the Shabbat right before Passover. So we're gonna hope everybody's getting themselves also ready with at home and the Passover preparations. A couple of folks approached me, Rabbi, where do I find like matzah around here or some other kosher Pesach things? Come see me afterwards. We have a few stores that we have, and I have like 3 packs of matzah extra. If somebody wants to see me afterwards, I can hand you those. So welcome, and we are celebrating this Shabbat. And we open up with the Nigun Talmidei Pesht. Cantor will lead us in that.
Join with me.
We continue with the reading on the bottom of page 6, and we're going to do this one responsively. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden. Join with me. Thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
And for the honor of the lighting of the Shabbat candles, I'd like to invite up Howard and Alice Greenwood to the front. You're on page 2 and 3 if you want to follow along.
Help me perfect my ways of loving and caring. Inspire me to make myself whole, so that I may honor your name and create a world of justice and peace. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat
Yashar
shalom.
Kol. Thank you. Next we are on page 10 on the top, the second one from the top. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom.
Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Continue on page 12 with the Chune Ranena. Let us sing to God joyfully.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. 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 Naria, Naria, letzor yishenu nekadma fana v'toda. Naria, Naria, letzor yishenu bizmirot Naria lo. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai.
All right. And on page 20, we turn to Lech Hadudi as we welcome in the Shabbat bride. As always, we're going to be doing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and the last one. And for that last one, we're going to be rising, facing the door. Folks at home, please feel free to do the same. Wherever the Shabbat queen may enter there.
And we often do melodies that are more contemporary. This is a more, not ancient, but an older melody of Lewandowski. So join with me in the chorus of this one. Lecha dodi likrat kala kenei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala kenei Shabbat nekabela. Shmor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'li tehillah. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם ניסוחיו, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום את ארץ בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי, בואי, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please have a seat. We are on page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
יעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ויומכון, ובחיי בכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשם.
בריחו.
בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו.
Amen. About to rise for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship on page 28. Folks at home, please do the same.
Yai lai lai, ya la lai lai lai, yai la lai lai la lai lai, yai lai lai, ya la lai lai lai, yai la lai lai la lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 la lai, yai lai lai la lai lai. Ay la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam ba'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Oh yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai.
On the top of page 31, and we read together. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravi. Bottom of page 32, we read together as well in the English. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malechoto Leolam, Leolam Vaed.
Please have a seat. Page 36 on the top, and chant together the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, Liot lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
And page 41, we read together in the English. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, the soldier's home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
We're going to hold our place on page 40 and join with Miriam's song on page 342, and then we'll return to page 40. Join with us. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which saved our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas. The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar HaKodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Malechutecha ra'u banecha, Bokei hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimlo le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimlo le'olam va'ed. Kifad Adonai et Yaakov, Ugealo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Turn to page 42 and read together on the bottom. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. God, our going and coming to life and to peace evermore.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shalomecha. The third line down from the top. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shalomecha. Yalai, lalai, yalai, lalai, yalai, lalai, yalai, lalai. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shalomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 44 on the top, and join together in the Vishamu.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בהיני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
With this, we're about to rise for the Amidah on page 46. At home, folks, please do as well, facing east.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov. Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Adorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot V'imahot, Umevii Geula Livnei Vrehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia. Mashiv HaRoach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar. Nichamocha Bal Givurot, Omidom Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umasmiach Yeshuav, V'ne'eman Ata Le'achayot HaKol. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please have a seat. We're on page 55 on the very bottom. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things in space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness of time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 56, Yabura. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tikabel, utehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, el karov lechol ko'av, pnei el avadecha v'chonenu, shfoch ruchacha aleinu, v'techazena inenu, b'shuvcha leTzion b'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shchinato leTzion. And page 58 for the Modim, our prayer of thanksgiving. This has become our minhag here. Think about back on the last week, all the things that happened. What are some of the positive, joyful things, big or small, that you had, that you want to maybe share with us in a moment? Folks at home, feel free to use the chat. And we're going to go around for those who want. Maybe kicking us up here up front. Cantor, what's going on these days?
Sure. So I would say that Passover is on the brain, and it's wonderful to see so many congregants who are opening their homes. We sent out a email to invite people to share their homes with others for Passover, and that is starting to happen. And I will be having a first night and a second night, and the second night will be broadcast live from my living room. So it should be lovely. And so I'm looking forward to it. Slides from Jeff Friedman, as always, beautiful. And it's going to happen very shortly. So what about you?
Oh, in the spirit of Passover, like, a lot of cleaning up, not only like, of chametz and all that stuff, or at least eating myself out of it at this point, but also like pretty much cleaning out all kinds of old notes and books and pieces. It was a really positive piece, letting go of things from the past and really deciding what do we want to carry on as we move into freedom, into our the next phase of our people. So yeah, that was a positive piece. Folks, what's been going on? Who wants to share something else, the positive that happened for them? Oh, yes.
Our city's grateful that they turn the lights back on after we lose electricity.
Oh, the power coming back afterwards. So grateful for that. Wonderful. Also, don't you guys have something special going on like these days?
Or earlier this
Or earlier this week? Yeah. What's happening with you two?
Earlier last month. Anniversary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought that was.
Oh, yeah, and
Wonderful weather.
yesterday's weather. Yes, exactly.
I was gonna say, I think the building is not quite used to it yet or something. It's still like, attuned to the winter while it's pretty toasty in here,
Yes, we're back to winter.
So, yes.
So I was invited to a Seder dinner, which I'm very looking for.
Awesome.
And I also drove up with a friend to Seder yesterday to look at 3 houses, and he ended up buying one. And I went through today. So
Awesome. House sale went through. That's great. Happy to hear. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Alrighty. Oh, yes, Sigurd. Oh, confirmation of the Superior Court, Judge Jackson, yes. All right. Oh, it's been a slow week, folks. As always, homework for next week. Go out there, make something wonderful happen, then come back and tell us all about it. We're looking forward to hearing about it. And expressing our thanks to God with the Chatima on the very bottom, page 58, together. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And on page 60, join together with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. V'tov enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit uv'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim
טסים לעולם. טסים, טסים לעולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל, בשלום. Take a moment of silence now for the prayers of our heart. Feel free to use pages 62, 63 for meditation if you'd like. Otherwise, just take a deep breather and listen to the voice of your heart. We come back in a moment.
Page 62. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I know about you, but I never really got the appeal of horror movies. People would go to the cinema or watch TV shows in order to be freaked out of their minds and watch bloody and gory scenes. One of the early milestones of the genre is, of course, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho from the year 1960, which is not only considered one of the most successful black and white movies ever made, but it also paved the way for less subtle forms of humor, such as splatter movies like Bloodbath, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just hearing the graphic titles, you pretty much get the summary of what the rest of the movie is going to be about. While most horror movies only appeal to a limited audience, there's a current TV series of the same genre that has broken all records in terms of ratings and viewer numbers, and that is the AMC horror drama, The Walking Dead. It just finished its 11th season, believe it or not, and has hailed one of the most watched TV series in cable history. averaging 13 to 14 million viewers at some of the height of his earlier seasons. The series is set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies, the eponymous Walking Dead, or just walkers. The main protagonist, the deputy sheriff, awakens from a months-long coma, ventures out from a deserted hospital in Atlanta to search for family and other survivors of the apocalypse and to fight off the walkers along the way. While the walkers can be killed, they're highly dangerous as they can infect humans with a mysterious disease by biting them, which would turn them into zombies as well. This week's Torah portion, Metzora, also deals with a mysterious disease, and that is tzara'at, a skin condition often translated as leprosy. Tzara'at conveys a high level of ritual uncleanness, only a little short of the impurity associated by touching a dead body. The person affected by this highly contagious disease would need to be quarantined outside the city gates to avoid contact with healthy people, lest they be infected and turn into a metzora, a leper as well. In case you need any more clues for the connection between the walkers and the metzoras, well, you need not look much further than the books of the prophets, which gives the Bible's version of a zombie attack. In the second book of Kings, read about the siege of the city of Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel, by the army of the Arameans. The inhabitants have been locked into the city for a long time and are starting to run out of food. Outside of the city gates sit 4 metzoras, which have been quarantined according to the laws of Leviticus. Now, these 4 guys are somewhat between a rock and a hard place. They are starving, but they cannot enter the city because of the disease. Also, there's no food in there to begin with, and if they were to remain in place, they would starve as well. So they decide to take the chances by going to the camp of the Arameans to surrender, hoping that they might be left alive and fed as prisoners of war. And now the stage is set for the attack of the walking lepers. And they got up there at twilight to go to the camp of the Arameans. When they came to the outer part of the camp, behold, there was no one there. No? Might seem a somewhat anticlimactic turn of events here. But unbeknownst to the 4 lepers, God, from the special effects division, had slightly amplified their arrival. For Adonai let the army of the Arameans hear the noise of chariots, noise of horses, and the noise of a great army. So the Arameans said to one another, "Oi," I'm paraphrasing, "the king of Israel has hired the king of the Hittites and the king of the Egyptians as backup to attack us." So they got up and fled in the twilight, left their tents, their horses, their donkeys, left the whole camp as it was, and fled for their life. Now, even though our 4 leper friends do not quite understand what has been going on there, they do not give much thought and start to loot the camp. They finally get to quench their thirst and hunger and also put aside a little nest egg before they let the people in the hometown know what they have found. And this is where the really scary stuff happens. Having gotten the news about the Aramean booty, the people of Samaria stampede out of the city to get to the deserted camp, trampling the guard of the city gate to death, and descend upon the rest of the spoils like a pack of vultures. Give you a visual. Picture Black Friday here in the US. Once the stores open, go. As often in the Bible, the tables get turned. It is not the afflicted and contagious lepers which ultimately bring about devastation. It is the presumably healthy people who gravely hurt others by focusing only on themselves and their needs of the moment. And this is the great lesson that can take away from the story. In our society today, we really separate sick people anymore completely from the rest of the community, except in cases, of course, of extreme contagiousness and, well, pandemics. But more often, we treat sick people like outsiders on an emotional level. As with the topic of death, many people try to block out sickness and disease, as they do not want to recognize them as part of their lives. Leviticus deals with exactly these afflictions, but it puts the focus on reintegrating the people into the community. The rituals might say strange to us today, and at least partially rooted in some kind of superstition. But they serve to signal to the larger community that a person was good to go to return to regular life, very much like a negative COVID test these days. But even while the person is still in a state of sickness, we are not to ostracize them and cut them out from our lives. The Midrash Hagadol teaches us one of the mightiest acts of chesed, of loving kindness, is Bikur Cholim, the visiting of the sick. Although when Abraham was recovering after his circumcision, God made it a point to reach out to him, to console him, and keep his spirits up in this time of sickness. Following God's example, we too are not to shy away from facing sickness in our lives, and to be a strong presence and blessing for those who are afflicted by it. And at times, sickness, you might think, can be really more scary and frightening than all the horror movies combined there. But it's really up to us to turn those around into some happy end for these people. Shabbat Shalom. For the announcements, I'd like to invite up Eli Bjornacker.
I have to read these, it's the first time. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank everyone for joining us, whether in person or at home. Thank all of you who made this night possible. These include Cantor Fine and Rabbi TV, and our security that Sean is still watching for us outdoors, and sound and streaming that Benjamin has taken care of. All of the upcoming events that we have at Temple Bethel can be found in the order of worship handed out. They can be found on our website and on the Shabbat Shalom email sent out on Thursdays each week, and the Temple Bethel website calendar, and in the monthly bulletin. There's a lot of ways to find out what's going on at Temple Bethel. You can get copies of the monthly bulletin, and the Shabbat Shalom communication can be found, or you can get those if you call up the temple and phone in or send us an email. If you would like to receive this monthly material, send us the email or contact the office. As always, Saturday services and Torah study will continue tomorrow morning and Havdalah in the evening. These are all on Zoom. The Taste of Hebrew adult education class this weekend will be in person and on Zoom. The community Passover Seder will take place on the second night of Passover, Saturday the 16th, and will be on Zoom, as we did not have the time and volunteers to have this in person this year. We look forward to returning to our social hall next year, Baruch Hashem. Make sure to check out the many and many other events being offered at Temple Bethel and others in our Shabbat Shalom email. General announcements. We have implemented new COVID reopening guidelines that went into effect last Sunday. We will have various stages that will be dependent on the CDC community levels that will be updated every week. To see the weekly protocols, refer to the weekly Shabbat Shalom email and the Temple Bethel website. You may have noticed that tonight we didn't list everybody who was here. One, the world is a little bit better, but second, one of the reasons that we were listing people who were here is it was important to have contact information, just in case. As always, if you need help or are willing to help those in need, please contact Temple clergy, staff, and leadership. Please stay safe and healthy. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Eli.
Thank you. Again, there's so many people involved with the service, so thanks to everybody who had a part in that. Debbie accompanying us, of course, as always. Benjamin on the tech, making sure we sound good and also being streamed out live. Well, the Greenwoods for the candles earlier today, and service support several one. Larry Schlosser there. I also saw Randy Leifson out there. A couple other folks we've been as well. Thanks to everybody making our guests and everybody else here feel welcome. So thanks to everybody who had a part in this as well. So appreciate it. And yeah, Sean and Mania Spinoza out there keeping watch. So thanks to them as well. Spoke a lot about sickness today. We take a moment now to think of those in our community who are in need of that healing of body, mind, and soul, and not only sharing their names, but also hopefully reaching out to them and also making sure that they are feeling included with the rest of us. If there's anybody of whom you're thinking at this point, please feel free to share their names. Yes. It was mentioned also the people of Ukraine, and also in particular thinking about Lynn Spellman, her name was mentioned several times. She had massive heart surgery and is recuperating slowly. Also hoping that she will be back to usual, and to her husband Jim, who's been also doing great, a lot of work helping out with that. So be thinking about them in particular today. The Misha Berach is on page 253 if you want to follow along with the words. Let's join together in this plea for healing.
Shebeach avotenu mekor bracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishebeach imotenu mekor bracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
About to turn to the concluding prayers of our service. First, the Aleinu, page 282 and 287. Please rise one more time as you're able. Folks at home, the same, facing east.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעושה בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please have a seat. Now turning to those who are no longer with us. First, if there's somebody who's in a period of mourning of Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days after the burial of a loved one, please rise at this moment. At home, the same, of course. From our community, commemorate Kurt Newman, recently passed away. And to all the mourners, we extend the words of consolation there in the pamphlet. Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch she'ah avalei Zion v'Yerushalayim. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Next, those who are marking a yard site, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, please rise at this moment. From our community, we commemorate the following: George Baskett, Irene Baer, Robert Brown, Mayor Burnett, Alexander Corwin, Irving Farber, Estelle Farber, Abdul Friedman, Rose G. Friedman, Dora Frumkin, Lena Tone Gates, Margaret Johnson, Lena Kaplan, Manuel Manny Kirshner, Celia Klein, Rabbi Bert Allen Klein, Rachel Max, Simone May, Isaac Ike Mutola, Janet Michelson, Lawrence Parrish, Charles Robinson, Harold F. Rothman, Stanley Siegel, Hilda Mora Slotnick, and Bernard Snyder. If there's anybody else whose name was not mentioned, of whom you're thinking at this time, please feel free to add or put in the chat for those at home. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. Everybody, please rise as a community at home as well as we recite these words together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei, ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitparah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Vitada, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei Dekudesha, Berichu, Leila, Min Kol, Birchata, Vishirata, Tushbechata, Venechemata, Damiran Bealma, Bimru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. זיכרונם לברכה. May their memory be a blessing. Please have a seat. All right, for our closing song, before we do Kiddush and Motzi, we're going to be turning to page 353. And there on the bottom you can find Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Peace will surely come to us, everyone. Salam, peace in Arabic for us and for the entire world. Let's join together.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom, salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Those at home, if you want to get your Kiddush cups ready, we are on page 5. If you want to follow along with that, please rise one more time as you're able.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, notanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava u'vratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat l'chaim.
And for number 2, the Motzi. It's on the back of the pamphlet, if you want the text for that.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everybody. Enjoy this last, bread before Pesach.
Yes. And please enjoy some challah as you go head
It's gonna
out.
be